Do you actually know what every device on your network is doing right now? Not what it's allowed to do, what it's actually doing at this exact moment. If you've watched the last couple videos on this channel, your network is in genuinely good shape. Firewall rules are locking down unnecessary ports. IoT and guest devices are segmented onto their own VLANs, away from anything that matters. That's real, meaningful security work, and most people never even get that far. But here's the gap nobody talks about. Segmentation is not the same thing as visibility. A secured network tells you what's allowed to happen. A monitored network tells you what's actually happening. Those are two completely different questions, and only one of them catches the compromised smart plug quietly talking to a server in another country. Think about it this way. Your firewall rules are the locks on your doors. Great locks, properly installed, doing exactly their job. But nobody's watching the hallway. If something gets in anyway, through a vulnerability nobody's patched yet, or a device that was compromised before you ever added it to the network, segmentation limits the damage. It doesn't tell you it happened. That's the layer we're adding today. Actual traffic visibility. Not just, is this device allowed to talk to that device, but what is actually flowing across my network right now, and does any of it look wrong? There are two solid paths to get there, and I'm walking through both. The first path is ntopng, a self-hosted open-source traffic analysis tool, and it's the more powerful of the two options if you're willing to spend an afternoon setting it up. It gives you deep packet inspection, historical traffic data, and a live breakdown of exactly which devices are talking to exactly which destinations, down to the individual flow. The catch with ntopng is that it needs to actually see your traffic, which means it can't just sit passively on your network like an app. You feed it traffic through port mirroring, sometimes called span, on a managed switch, which copies a duplicate stream of everything passing through to whatever device is running ntopng. If you're already on UniFi gear from the earlier videos in this series, this part's straightforward. On a UniFi switch, you set up port mirroring in the switch's port profile settings, mirroring your trunk or uplink port over to the port your ntopng box is plugged into. That single mirrored port now sees a copy of essentially everything crossing your network. For the box itself, a Raspberry Pi 4 or 5 handles this comfortably for a home network, running maybe 3 to 5 watts continuously, which is nothing on your power bill. Install ntopng directly through apt, or run it in Docker if you'd rather keep it isolated and easy to tear down and rebuild. Either way, the web dashboard comes up on port 3000 once it's running. Once it's live, this is what you're actually looking at day to day. A real-time list of active flows, which device is talking to which destination, how much data, over what protocol. You can drill into any single device and see its complete traffic history, and ntopng will flag unusual patterns on its own, like a device suddenly generating far more outbound traffic than its normal baseline. That's genuinely useful, but it's also a real project. Hardware, mirrored ports, ongoing maintenance. If that's more than you want to take on right now, Path 2 is built directly into hardware a lot of you already own. UniFi's gateways, the UCG Max included, ship with traffic and device identification built in, sometimes just called DPI, and it's actually enabled by default. Most people just never open the section that shows it. You'll find it under Settings, then Insights, or under System, then Advanced, depending on your firmware version. This gives you application usage by device, so you can immediately see if something's pulling far more bandwidth than it should, plus device identification that tries to fingerprint exactly what kind of device each client actually is, not just its assigned name. It's genuinely useful for catching a device that's misidentifying itself, which is a real red flag on its own. There's also SSL traffic deep inspection available on UniFi gateways for a closer look at encrypted traffic patterns, though I'd flag that one specifically. It involves inspecting inside encrypted sessions, which is a meaningfully bigger trade-off than the passive flow monitoring we've covered so far. So read exactly what it's doing before you flip it on. This isn't a default on recommendation the way basic DPI is. Compared to ntopng, UniFi's built-in monitoring is less granular and keeps less historical depth. but it costs you zero additional setup time if you're already on their gateway. And for most home networks, that's a completely reasonable trade-off. Start here and graduate to ntopng later if you find yourself wanting more. So whichever path you picked, here's what you're actually watching for, because a dashboard full of data is useless if you don't know what a problem looks like. First, unexpected outbound connections, especially to destinations or countries that have no business being part of your normal traffic pattern. A smart camera connecting to a cloud service in the region it was manufactured makes sense. That same camera suddenly reaching out somewhere else entirely does not. Second, bandwidth hogs that don't match the device. A thermostat sending or receiving gigabytes of data has no legitimate reason to be doing that. Full stop. And that mismatch between what a device is supposed to do and what it's actually doing is exactly the kind of thing raw traffic data catches that a firewall rule never will. And third, the one that catches people off guard most often, unfamiliar devices phoning home on a schedule. This is what a rogue device actually looks like in the data, not a dramatic spike, just a small, quiet, suspiciously regular connection at the same interval, day after day, to a destination that has no reason being there. Most people scroll right past it because it's boring, and boring is exactly what a well-behaved compromise looks like. That's the whole point of this video. Segmentation limits what a compromised device can reach. Monitoring is what actually tells you it's compromised in the first place. You've already done the hard part with firewall rules and VLANs. This is the visibility layer that makes all of it actually worth watching. Pick ntopng if you want depth and don't mind the setup. Pick UniFi's built-in insights if you want something running in the next 5 minutes. Either way, go turn one of them on today. This is exactly the kind of thing that's silent right up until the day it catches something real. If you want to see exactly what one of those quiet rogue connections actually looks like in a live dashboard, check out today's short. It's the reveal I mentioned. A real example of an unfamiliar device phoning home that you genuinely miss if you weren't looking. Subscribe if you want the rest of this home network security series. No fluff, just what to actually build. Between firewall rules, segmentation, and now real visibility into what's crossing the wire, your home network is in better shape than most small businesses at this point. Thanks for watching. Stay secure out there.